You know, do Asian lives even matter? Like Punjabi Asian lives, you know? My dad was Indian, you know, born in India, and he migrated here, well, came here to the States, immigrated here, became a citizen, worked hard his whole life. Then he passed away as a Chevron employee. And from Chevron, the reports were multiple different reports. The police told us something else, the detectives told us something else. The news that came out as a news article was different, and it didn't even mention that he was a Chevron employee, actually. It just said some body was found. Apparently, you know, my dad was wearing a Chevron uniform, so I'm not sure why he was not acknowledged as a Chevron employee. I guess Chevron wanted to, you know, cover their tracks. The detectives told us it could have been a, you know, robbery or, you know, some sort of altercation or some sort of, you know, dispute that happened. Apparently, there was a baton involved. That's what one of them said as well. And then, you know, I questioned them why. This was after a while, after my dad had passed away. It was like a few weeks or a few, yeah, I think a few weeks. Not months, it hadn't been months. I questioned them, I called and said, why is this not being put on the news thing, you know, so that people can know? So I questioned them, why is this not being put on the news or media? Because they had rejected our appeal to see the video due to there being a criminal in the video. Apparently, that's what their excuse was. I have a copy of that document, I believe, somewhere where it was rejected, the appeal to for us to see the video of my father passing. And, you know, with all these conspiracies going on, I had reached out to the media that put out my dad's death in their article, news article. There was one or two of them, I believe. And apparently they claimed that, you know, the cops know what they're saying, even though I said there were multiple stories and stuff going on. That's what they're telling us. But apparently the family side of the story doesn't matter, you know. And apparently, because it had been 2 weeks, that they were asking, why did you contact us so late? I mean, first of all, I'm not sure how the cops, you know, the detective's word wins over our word when we were told multiple different stories. And the fact that, you know, I have a rejection letter due to there being a criminal in the video. And then the report had already been done, you know, within that day. The detectives had seen what was happening, so I'm confused on why we were given multiple different stories for a few weeks. And when I tried to go get the report at the police station, it was rejected based on possible homicide. That's what they listed it as. Now, even one of the detectives had said on the phone that there seems to be tampering done with the evidence. Now, what is the evidence? It could have been the body, could have been the clothing, could have been the car, who knows what. But, you know, after months they declared it that it was a heart problem somehow. I mean, even if we go by their story, my dad didn't just pass away, you know, standing or, you know, sitting at the cash register. Their story is that somebody was in my dad's car going through stuff, and then my dad tried getting him out, and then, you know, chased him off, etc. That's what their fucking story was. Okay. Then why did it take you guys, you know? They had released that report, a while before they declared it that it was a heart problem, by the way. But still, when we had gone, the report had already been technically done, but they didn't release it to us because it was a possible homicide, apparently. How does that all make sense? And then the cause of death, they, you know, put it as that it was a heart thing. And then there's different times of death for my dad. On his death certificate, that's different. On the detective's report, it's different. And on the autopsy, it's different. And the fact we were told multiple different stories of how he passed away, and it took him that long to declare that it was a heart thing, and the video was, rejected based on there's a criminal in the video. How is this all supposed to look to me exactly? And the news didn't even help. The fact they didn't even mention it was a Chevron employee when he was wearing his uniform. There's another video on my channel that goes into depth about the whole thing, the whole ordeal. There's a lot more to this. I just wish somebody had helped us. Just because we're Indians, nobody cared. Indians, Asians don't matter. Like, I mean, are we not human? I really don't understand why not. I even tried getting help from this local minority group, which, protests for African American lives and African American people, mainly. That's what it seems. She didn't pick up my calls that much. She didn't, get back to us as much. We would call her or try to meet up on, the time she went to the detective's office with us, but I did the talking. And I had already gotten the stuff and went down. The stuff was nothing, basically. All I had gotten was the key to the car. She came after I had gotten the key. She showed up, though, yeah, but she came after. Then, she would rarely pick up my calls. She was busy with her own things. I understand that, but, you don't tell somebody you'll help them all the way and then, just not pick up their calls. Like, I'm not sure if my phone would have records because, they get erased after a while, but I called her multiple times, sometimes because we needed help figuring things out. Turned to the news, nobody helped. The news article that had released it in the first place, The lawyers all seemed very, what's it called? Iffy. They were sketchy, I guess, yeah. And they did something horrible too. Just because it was an Indian life, like nobody really, my mom died in the process of all the stress and crying all the time because she didn't know what had happened. She didn't know how he passed away. Even on the, what's it called? On one of the reports, there was no signature. So the officer in charge of the report that had been given to us, the signature was missing on where he's supposed to sign. Multiple different death dates. I mean, death times, not dates. And then they try to say that, he died because of his heart attack and stuff, and that's what our lawyers had been told at the time. Well, not heart attack, heart disease or something like that. That's what they were saying. And then we requested, okay, because we weren't going to believe that. That's bullshit. So we requested, that it be looked into further. So they wanted to look into his medical records. And we had asked for, a mutual person would be reviewing his medical records. That's what we were told. That meeting never happened. Instead, they decided to, offer us a certain amount. And then, because my mom had passed away, we had to accept that. That's what the lawyers said. And then there's a whole ordeal going on with that too, that money. But everybody is so corrupt in this country. Like, we still are there's still there's a problem going on with the money that we got. And then the lawyers were the most horrible people there is. They just took their money and left us with a check that's not even, there's a whole other issue with that check. If anybody's listening, thank you. I'm not sure what I'm saying. It's like 4 a.m., but the whole story is in my other video, and there are some parts that only I know.